a dangerous virus that makes children develop microcephaly. Watch, you'll be surprised. Gwen Hartley recalls the sense of wonder she felt when she gave birth to Claire, her second child. "You forget how tiny their little heads are," was the first thing she said in the delivery room when Claire came into the world. She was full term, her weight was normal, and her APGAR scores, assessments taken months after birth, were excellent. But doctors quickly realized there was a serious problem. After months of searching for answers, Hartley and her husband, Scott, finally received a devastating diagnosis. Claire had a serious form of microcephaly, a rare condition in which babies have unusually small heads and brains. When her second daughter, Lola, was born with microcephaly 5 years later in 2006, Gwen started a blog about the family called The Hartley Hooligans. Traffic to the site has spiked lately, with visitors from around the world because of the spread of the Zika virus, which Brazilian authorities have blamed for causing a dramatic rise in babies there being born with the condition, though more research on the possible links is necessary. With fears rising that a Zika outbreak in the U.S. is highly likely, worried parents-to-be have clicked onto Hartley's site to read her always frank and often funny observations about raising children with microcephaly. "It was a complete shock," she said of Claire's diagnosis. "We had had a normal sonogram and we had absolutely no idea anything was wrong. The couple, who live in a suburb of Wichita, Kansas, already had a healthy boy, Cale. There was no family history of the defect. Even after genetic tests, nearly 15 years later, the Hartleys do not have an explanation for how Claire developed microcephaly. Her other medical problems include dwarfism, spastic quadriplegia, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, scoliosis, and cortical visual impairment. Though a doctor said she was unlikely to live much beyond her first birthday, she'll turn 15 in July." The Hartleys were given a 25% chance that their next child could have microcephaly. Lola had a normal sonogram at 18 weeks. At 22 weeks, hers started to show some slight lags, about 2 weeks behind in head measurement, which they told me was still within normal limits, Gwen Hartley said. Another scan a month later confirmed the news they had dreaded. "The very first reaction that Scott and I had when we found out that Lola was also microcephalic, we both looked at each other. The radiologist, or whoever was doing the sonogram, said, 'Her head is now 5 weeks behind,' she said, and we literally looked at each other and laughed. I think it was just total disbelief. And then within a minute, we were both bawling." Lola shares many of her sister's medical problems. Though unlike Claire, she does not need a feeding tube to eat. Her seizures are shorter but more frequent. By the age of 9, she weighed only 12 pounds and was about 2 feet tall. Claire is below 3 feet. "We know that our family is definitely not the norm," Hartley wrote on the blog. "We know that we're basically a walking freak show when we go out in public, as we have not one tiny-headed, non-mobile, non-verbile dwarf, but 2. We feel the pity and the judgment, we hear the comments, questions, and remarks, and we see the stares, elbow nudging, and sheer surprise. And none of this matters to us because we love our life. We love our 3 children, feel blessed by each unique child, and wouldn't change one thing about our life or what we've been through. We only wish everyone could feel what we feel on a daily basis." Many of the blog posts are upbeat, such as the entry from the 15th of January, detailing the family's desperate attempts to find Lola's missing favorite toy, Bach, a tiny rubber chicken. On the site, Gwen describes herself as a real-life, damn near snow effing white, super pale and gifted at dwarf wrangling. She started writing as my way of sorting through emotions and dealing with difficult situations that come my way and processing things. "It's my outlet for humor," she said. "There's some days where if I didn't laugh, I'd be crying. It's an emotional roller coaster, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and not a lot in between." Claire may never walk unaided, but with the help of therapists, the girl's fine motor and communication skills have developed. Their little accomplishments mean so much. Little things that you wouldn't think would be that meaningful for somebody else. For us, it's huge. "The other day, Lola grabbed my finger," Hartley said. Microcephaly occurs in the U.S. at a rate of between 2 and 12 babies per 10,000 live births, according to statistics cited by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It can be caused by genetic factors, infections, severe malnutrition, and exposure to toxic substances such as drugs and alcohol. Hartley hopes that the attention on Zika will raise awareness and analysis of the condition, which can vary greatly in severity. I think it's not talked about. I think that the Zika virus is the first time it's really been in the public this way, she said. We've celebrated Microcephaly Awareness Day for years, and it seems like most people don't know what it is. I still get asked all the time, what's wrong with your daughters? And I'm thinking it's obvious because their heads are so small. Hartley said that people have reached out to her on Facebook. I certainly don't have all the answers, but I just remember wishing that I had somebody who could hold my hand and walk me through things at the beginning. And if I can help do that with other families, I want to, she said. I tell them that they're never going to know how strong they can be, that their child is going to make them the best version of themselves, that they can totally do this. I want them to know it's going to be hard, but it's going to be the most rewarding experience of their life.